All right, everyone, welcome into another episode of T&J Sports Podcast. We will be going over week 6 of NCAA football. We got Kentucky, we got Louisville, and everything in between in the top 25. So welcome in. Drizzy's here.
Tstalls.
Yes, so we are going to jump into it today. We will start off with the victors of the weekend. We'll throw it over to Tstalls to recap that Louisville victory on Saturday.
Yeah, like you said, great victory this week. A much needed victory, in my opinion. I mean, as every Louisville fan knows, coming off that horrible performance against Boston College a week prior, where we lost by 1 point. This week, that first quarter kind of started out exactly how I thought it was going to, with our starting quarterback being out, Malik Cunningham out with a concussion. UVA went out to a 10-0 score going in that first quarter. Our backup, Brock Domann, did not look good at all. He had a few passes that just sailed on him. And then he had an interception that was just like, what are you doing? I mean, I even tweeted out there. If you can go and look on my Twitter page, you can see I even tweeted out it's going to be a long day. And, it quickly turned around. That second quarter quickly turned around. We were able to get it going. Doman was actually started to get on fire, started looking really good. He's a junior. He went to a JUCO school. He actually was on Last Chance U. Did you know that?
Yeah, I remember seeing he went to Independence, so
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. That's cool for him to get out there. Like I said last week, going into this game, there's not much film on him. So not many teams know what to expect when it comes from Brock. I mean, they know they thought they didn't have to look for, a QB run as much as like you would with Malik Cunningham in. He's a dual threat quarterback with Malik, but with Brock, we didn't know what we were going to get. And I think that was where the good play calling came into effect with his long touchdown run of 44 yards, where he fooled not only the defense, but he fooled the cameraman. I mean, it was an RPO. He looked and seen he wasn't about to get the first down, or the running back wasn't about to get much because that edge rusher completely sold out on the run, the full handoff, because nobody expected Brock to keep it. He pulled it back and took off for 44 yards. And, like I said, he didn't start out hot passing the ball. He did have 2 interceptions, but he really locked in when he needed to lock in. And once we went up 13-10, we really didn't look back from there. Brock finished with 71 yards rushing. For a quarterback, like I said, wasn't known as a dual threat. He finished with 71 yards and 275 yards passing. I don't want to be too heavy on him right now, but I have right here in my notes. Is this the Domann Era?
I don't know. You might have something there, a little bit more than Malik. It's definitely more balanced. I'll say
Yeah.
270 yards passing, 200 yards on the ground. But with Malik in there, most of those rushing yards are usually from him.
Yeah, he's
Um,
literally our whole offense when it's him. And
yeah, you had receivers, 5 different receivers catch a pass.
and not just 5 different receivers, but our main guy got involved. And I
Yeah,
know he didn't have the most catches, but Marshawn Ford was finally utilized the right way. He had 4 catches, and you may be like, oh, it's only 4. But he had 4 catches for 93 yards, and he averaged 23 yards a catch. I mean, this is exactly what we wanted in Marshawn. And a lot of his catches were over the middle, where his first option wasn't open, his second option wasn't open, but he knew he's going to have that go-to tight end, that was sure hands of Marshawn Ford coming across the middle. And Domann actually stayed in the pocket and made those passes. Whereas Malik, he didn't see that first option, and sometimes even that second option, and he's taking off, or he's rolling out of the pocket and forcing himself into like a high stress pass that usually is overthrown, underthrown, or has to be a great catch by the receiver. I don't want to say I want Domann to start, next week, because obviously this week we have a bye week, but next week against Pittsburgh, like I said, and like you just said, he is more of a balanced quarterback when it comes to this, and our offense is not as predictable when he's in the game. When Malik's in the game, you kind of know, all right, I got to have one guy on the quarterback for running, And if he passes, we kind of want to force him to pass it deep. So, we're going to press up on these receivers. And if they're not open by more than 5 yards, he's not going to get them the ball. Or if he does, it's going to get intercepted. Whereas Brock's like, all right, let me back up off these receivers because he is a passing quarterback. We don't think he's going to run. So let's back up off of him. And that's where Brock just showed, like, hey, if you back up off of my receivers, I'm going to hit them short because I am accurate. I can hit those quick passes. Or if you want to send those edge rushers, I'm just going to take off running and I can get, 4 or 5 yards, or I can break off for a 44-yard run. So I don't want to go ahead and say, Malik, sit down, but I have in there should be a quarterback competition going on for this week and next week. I know Malik's coming off a, concussion, but man, Malik, you had 4 years of being our starting quarterback, and we had 4 years of the same repetitive offense, whereas Brock's in there and it's completely different. It looks like a completely different offense. I mean, it looks like, what Satterfield loves to do and, play actions and still having RPOs in there and still being able to throw the ball accurately. We can do that with Domann. And with Malik, it's kind of like, all right, I'm not going to be able to make this pass, but I'm going to run. I may get -2 yards or I may get 20 yards. But I mean, Domann knows what to do with the ball, it looks like. And I know that may say more about Virginia and how awful they are. But I mean, for him to go in a hostile environment, us coming off a upsetting loss, and for him to, play in his first Division I game in the ACC, let alone, one of the top divisions, he held his own.
Yeah, and definitely held his own. Got you all the win. That's the most important part. Getting back on track for you there. Think you're now, what, 3-3 on the season?
Yeah, back to 500, and Brock's not the only one that showed something. Early on in the week, after our loss to Boston College, Satterfield said that he was going to step in and help out on defense. And I don't know if this was his effect of him helping out on defense, but our defense did look better because we put MJ Griffin, who was a transfer. We put him in at safety, and he played great. Had one of his best games of the year. He had 5 tackles and a huge interception in that game that kind of kept the momentum on our side and kept us rolling. Quincy Riley played a great game. He ended with 4 tackles. And then, it kind of shows how this transfer portal will really change the program. We have went against probably 5 former players so far this year that played for Louisville and are now on other teams, and some we haven't played against, but we've seen their name on other teams and highlight tapes, such as Jordan Watkins for Ole Miss, who had a big catch against Kentucky. Hate to bring it up, but against Kentucky when they won, he was a big time receiver for us. He still would have been a big time receiver for us. And then in this game in particular, Anthony Johnson, who was a corner for us, transferred out and went to Virginia. And this man in that first quarter was a lockdown, shutdown corner. I mean, he still was throughout the game. We couldn't really go against him, but he shut down Tyler Hudson. He shut down a lot of our big time plays. He got an interception early in the game, that bad pick by Brock, but he had a big interception. And after that interception, I think this is where the whole game turned because a lot of people seen him. He started throwing down the L's down. And you already know how much I hate that. I hate when people do the L's down, but that just means we're a known team. We're huge enough to where people want to throw up the L's down. I see it just as big as horns down for Texas. So I hate it, but I love it. So I think Louisville loved it when he did it, and it turned to switch on in us, and we made him regret throwing up that L's down. So, but like I was saying, we have a lot of transfers that left Louisville and now playing against us and actually playing well against us. Greedy Vance, we talked about him for Florida State, who played great against us, and now Anthony Johnson. So I don't know if Pitt has anybody that we previously had on our roster, but man, that transfer portal is helping and hurting us right now.
Yeah, it's definitely the new age of everything with the transfer portal having a big impact. Either losing a bunch of guys, getting a bunch of guys. That's how Kentucky's been kind of getting their quarterbacks over the years, is transfers in and whatnot. But yeah, you all looked good. You get a pretty convincing win coming out the back end. Half the season's over at 500. Now you just need to take 3 more games to go bowling, which I think should be the goal at this point. The middle of the season at 3-3 is just trying to maybe had to steal a game or two along the way.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely, need to pick up another 3 wins. Not going to be easy
No.
because at the moment, um,
5 out of the last 6 opponents are ranked.
yeah, including James Madison.
Who
So
just now got their. It's crazy. It's one of those situations with Bellarmine last year. It's their first time being in Division One, and how great Bellarmine did. They won their conference championship, but wasn't allowed to go to the NCAA tournament. Same thing with James Madison. They're running their conference right now. They just knocked off Appalachian State, I believe, last week, and now they're ranked, but they won't be able to go bowling this year. So they have
yeah,
to prove going against us because I feel like they'll see us as a bowl game because we may not be a bowl team that good, but we're a higher competition that they're playing against this year and notoriety for our school. So I think they'll see that as a bowl game. So we're definitely going to get their best shot, and I hope we come prepared because at our current the way we're performing this year, we go lose, win, lose, win. Right now, we're on the lose side with Pittsburgh, but I believe if it keeps mapping out, I believe that lose win has James Madison as a win. But I hope we don't keep that current trend. I hope we go win here and and just keep it going.
yeah, definitely. You got the bye week coming up. Good time to get healthy right in the middle of the season. Looks like James Madison in that Sun Belt will be going up against Coastal Carolina soon, which is also still undefeated. They're at 6-0, but they're unranked, which is odd because they've been
Yeah.
ranked for the past few years.
It'd
You
be a good
know,
game then.
uh,
Great game.
so but yeah, so that's actually the last game of the year for James Madison. So, but we'll get over to. Does he have anything else to add on that Louisville game at the moment?
No, honestly, it was a great performance all around after that first quarter. The last 45 minutes was great. Um, I know you have a lot to say about Kentucky, and just know it's a long season, man. It's only halfway through. So go ahead and get it off your chest. What do you got to say about them?
Yeah, I can take losing on the road to Ole Miss, even though they shot themselves in the foot. They played like garbage, but I get we had a backup quarterback who honestly didn't look that awful. Um, there's a lot of things that went on in that game that just kind of didn't make sense. Um, Chris Rodriguez had, I think, like 100 yards at the half and didn't touch the ball until like the last drive of the fourth quarter. And in the second half, doesn't that makes zero sense? Honestly, this dude should have had. He was 22 for 126. This man should have easily had 40 carries. I mean, he's got the freshest legs on the team. Um, none of it makes sense. You know, I just I don't know. The defense came laid a goose egg for the first time all year. No offense to go with it. Um, I mean, it just deflated. I think in the very beginning of the game, caught a turnover pretty much immediately. Um, right at the end zone. They put it in 4 seconds into the game. They were up 7-0. So it definitely took the energy out of the stadium,
Yeah,
deflated everybody a little bit. But at the same time, you got to get over that hump. You're at the time top 13 team. The week before, your top 7 team. This is not how a top 10 team should play.
yeah,
Uh, it's a little ridiculous how it happens year in and year out. You look at you get a loss and then it spirals into 2 and 3 losses, as we talked about last week, not letting one loss turn into two
yeah.
loss and 2 loss turn into 3 loss.
Yep.
Um, but that could be what goes on now. Will Levis still day to day. You've got top 16, number 16 Mississippi State flying high, 5-1. Will Rogers um, broke, I think, the SEC completion passing record just this last week, which had been intact since like 2012 or 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that dude can throw the ball. That dude can run the ball. It's going to be really tough. We're a 6.5 point underdog at home. Um, but this could easily spiral out of control really quick over the next 2 games. And we can be sitting at 4-4 really easily. Um,
These
so
next
he's got
few.
Stoops got some work to do. Somehow these guys have got to get up and be ready to play. It's not like it was some noon game,
Mm-hmm.
um, against Youngstown State where you can come out and play flat. This is a SEC game, 7:30 at night. Your whole stadium's packed. The whole atmosphere, just everything that they've said that they wanted over the years, come out and support. Well, you finally have got everyone's support, and then you lay this fat goose egg um, on the table. And this is, it's unacceptable for what they want the program to be like. So, does everything get reconciled with a win this week? No, but 5-2 looks a hell of a lot better than 4-3
Yes,
going
sir.
into the bye week before you go on the road to Tennessee the weekend of right before Halloween.
Mm-hmm. It could be
Which
a
if
scary
Tennessee,
weekend, my friend.
yeah, which if Tennessee pulls out the win this weekend against Alabama at home, which they more than likely can, especially if Bryce Young doesn't play,
Yeah.
um, you could be looking at a top two Tennessee team going into that game in Knoxville at the end of the month. So he's got to right the ship this week. That it, you know, I'm not going to accept a loss, but if they lose, but they look a hell of a lot better doing it, and they
Mm-hmm.
show some effort, defense doesn't miss tackles, um, you know, and that offensive coordinator, new to the system, new year, first year doing it, but did he not look at any tape from the year before or the year before that with Rodriguez and how he can run the football? I
I
mean,
don't know what he was doing. I guess he still had the same play schemes in for when he was out suspended. But I was going to say I don't know that fumble that led to the first touchdown and whatnot. That trickeration play. I know just my time playing. We do those trick plays when we obviously you have moments where you want to do those trick plays. Usually it's later in the game when your usual plays, usual concepts are kind of not working and it's midway through the season. So a lot of teams see those same plays. They know, like, all right, oh, it's a handoff. It's going to the right with this kind of motion. And they're like right there in that play, they're trying to do a double. I believe it was a double handoff or a reverse, and the guy ended up fumbling it or whatnot. I don't know if that was more so Kentucky didn't believe in their offense to get it done with normal plays, and they were pulling out all the stops to beat South Carolina with that play so early. Or it was just, hey, we can beat them. Let's just try this trick play real quick. But that does not look like a good look for their offensive coordinator doing a trick play that early in the game. I get it. You want to trickeration and all that's good. But when it's a team like South Carolina and you're Kentucky, you should be able to get it done with just, hey, run the ball with Rodriguez, like you said. Let's get this done and go home.
yeah, and I know there was some reports throughout the week that there was going to be some different wrinkles to the game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if Levis couldn't go, there was going to be, some trickeration, some different, play styles and stuff like that. And I, I expected more than just that double reverse to be it.
Yeah.
I honestly think that double reverse didn't work. Go down 7-0, and they just abandoned what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
Which honestly they should have stuck with it because what better? I can't stand losing to Shane Beamer. I don't like that guy.
I understand. Trust me, if it was me and he was doing all that after the game, or if it was another team doing that against Louisville, I'd be mad too. But I mean,
You
when you
know what? I'm
coach,
not even mad at that. I just the guy just it just rubs me the wrong way.
yeah,
For him to do that, that's perfectly fine because you know
yeah. I
what?
mean, it's a perfect
Stoop
clapback. It's a perfect
Stoops made his
clapback.
bed and he had to lie in it. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
I mean, it comes out at his press conference. I just ripped the team, the coaches, myself. Like, man, the time to rip into people was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to
mm-hmm.
get them ready.
Yeah,
And the time to rip into them was halftime. And then you let come out and just play even more flat.
mm.
So, you know, culture wasn't great. Maybe it was a little climate for Mark Stoops on Saturday. You know, Don't make those statements and then lay that goose egg, especially against that team.
Yeah.
That team's not good.
South Carolina and Spencer Rattler, those two things on its own. Spencer Rattler, him losing his starting job at Oklahoma and then taking the easy way out by transferring, says, okay, he's a quitter. He's not going to stick it out. Kind of speaks on what he is kind of as a quarterback. He's not
Just
going to
speaks
stick in
to
the
the
pocket
character
and make
because of
those.
the way that he acted when he lost his job
Yeah,
at
that's what I'm
Oklahoma.
getting. He doesn't seem like the leader type. Doesn't seem like he's going to lead his offense, lead his program. And then South Carolina being a lower tier team, only having I think one good year when they had Jadeveon Clowney, and then maybe another year where they beat Clemson. But those two together just kind of is a recipe for like they should not have beat Kentucky, especially with Kentucky being the offense that they have. But I think the narrative that Louisville has had this whole year with Malik Cunningham being he's our only weapon, he is the team, we have nothing after Malik Cunningham. I think Kentucky fit that narrative more than Louisville did this week. Will Levis is the whole team. And you would think that's not the case when you have stud receivers like you have in young receivers, stud running back in Rodriguez, and then a great defense. I think Levis just showed his worth right there. And I mean, he's getting his money's worth at UK, obviously, with all his NIL deals, but he just showed his worth on a football field. And I think if you had to put a evaluation on those two players, Malik Cunningham and Will Levis, I think right there, Will Levis' value went up, and then Malik's went down just because, like, all right, maybe we can get it done. Again, his value does not go down all the way, listeners. I'm not saying Malik Cunningham's garbage or he's not the guy that we think he is. He's still that guy for Louisville. He's still Louisville football, but it just proved we can get it done against a lower tier team like Virginia. So it's okay not to get worried if we don't have Malik. We can put our backup, who now has experience, in. And your backup, what's his name? I don't even know what his name is.
Kaya Sharon, I believe he's
Sharon.
from Owensboro.
Yeah, I remember hearing that a lot. But it's good for him to have that experience because that's huge for him. If this happens in Mississippi State, if Will Levis comes back and re-aggravates an injury, he can kind of think back to this game. Hopefully, he uses it as fuel to like, all right, I'm not going to do these mistakes that I did last week. I'm gonna make sure I step up and make plays again in this game, or it could really crush a career there, and it may get ugly really really quick if Will Levis goes out with those injuries. So I hope Stoops is really putting into that offense and to that offensive coordinator, like, hey, Levis is our guy on offense, but we can get it done with our other players. We need to find ways to get the balls in our playmakers' hands, and that's either a handoff, just no double reverse, no trickeration, hand the ball off to Rodriguez, or do a quick bubble screen to our quick stud receivers out there on the outside. Just get the ball out and go, man. You got to get your playmakers in space, and stuff will happen.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely there's a lot going on that just it doesn't make a whole lot of sense at the moment
Mm-hmm.
with how this weekend transpired. Um, so hopefully go back to the drawing board, fix some mistakes. Guys got to play well around the backup because they did it. There was multiple drop passes. I mean, the offensive line, this pro style offense that they've got in place, and the way, from what I'm understanding, is the quarterback is supposed to do a lot of checks at the line for
Yeah.
different thing, different rushers and different coverages and stuff. Um,
He's
and
supposed to help
honestly,
that line
Sharon,
make adjustments for sure.
yeah,
But
Sharon doesn't know those. He's
yeah.
not been in the game enough to figure those out. And unfortunately, you couldn't blow out your cupcakes earlier in the year enough to put him in the game to get some game experience and do those. Which is also going back to the offense stalling out. So
Yeah.
it needs to be addressed, needs to fix itself this week, or we could be in for a very long end of the season for Kentucky.
Do you think your season can be saved with the win this weekend?
It can't be saved.
Well, does it put it trajectory wise? Does it put you back in like, all right, we can finish this strong with the win this week? Or do you think They need to have a great performance these next 2 weekends. Like you have to win these next 2 weekends, and or it's
You have to win this weekend.
yeah.
I mean, you're sitting at 2 losses now.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you expected from Tennessee and Georgia, and we haven't been there yet.
Yeah.
The South
Ole Miss,
Carolina loss is inexcusable. Ole Miss on the road, you can understand it, but it should have been a win based on the performance, you know, of the offense. But you had special teams let you down,
mm-hmm.
um, and whatnot. So you must win this weekend, and it's not an easy thing to do.
I think what will
Then
help
you
you
get your
all
bye
out.
week.
What will
You
help you
know,
out is Ole Miss going undefeated until they play Alabama. So if they beat Auburn this week, beat LSU, I know it's a lot of ifs, and I know it's kind of just like, oh, well, they lost to an undefeated Ole Miss. That sounds better than saying Ole Miss got the best of them and then they shit the bed the rest of the season. No, Ole Miss is actually good. They're undefeated. I feel like they'll go undefeated until they play Alabama. And the next hardest game they have is Mississippi State. So you're playing Ole Miss's 2 games harder than them. You're playing the number one team in Georgia, and now you're about to play Mississippi State, and you're going to play Tennessee. So you're having a harder schedule than Ole Miss. So honestly, I think your season is fine if you can pull out the win this week. Take that loss to Tennessee because that's going to be a hard one. Unless something happens to Hayden Hooker, I don't see you all pulling that one out, especially in Knoxville. Pull out the win this week. It's at home. It's a night game. You got to win that. Lose to Tennessee, but then you have a kind of a cushion schedule with Mizzou. Then you got Vandy.
those if you lose those, there's a problem.
Oh, I think Stoops is out. Stoops is out if even if y'all beat Mississippi State, if you lose to Tennessee, lose to Mizzou or Vanderbilt somehow, some fashion, I think Stoops is out. There's oh man. I mean,
He
I
ain't.
can't really
He's
speak
not.
on it. He may
He's
be
not
able to
getting
stay there.
fired, but he might find an exit and go to another program.
He'll be on the
Which,
hot seat for sure. You think he'll be on the
yeah,
hot seat more than Scott?
no, there ain't no way. There's no one in this country on the hot seat more than Scott. And
There's some programs. There's some programs where they got hot seats going on right now.
which programs have hot seats going?
Well, it sounds
Everyone.
from the UK fan base, sounds like Stoops on the hot seat for the last 10 years, and he's only been there 10 years. So
Yeah, well, he's done a lot of good. That
he's done a
it's
lot of
just,
what Satterfield's done.
yeah, he's done a lot of winning. He's done a lot of losing, but it's at some point you can't. Like we said earlier, one loss can't turn into two, can't turn into three.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely can't turn into four. So this is the one where you got to nip the losing streak in the bud. Maybe take your ass whipping at Tennessee. Get your 2 wins, Missouri and Vanderbilt. Battle through Georgia,
Mm-hmm.
which so far hasn't looked great. Then looked not so great. Um, so I mean that one probably might be more winnable than Tennessee at this point with the way that they're playing. And
Yeah.
then hand little brother the L at the end of the year.
I'm about to
You
say
know,
you're looking at 7-5 the way you're playing right now. Mississippi State lost, Tennessee lost, Mizzou win, Vandy win, UGA lost, and then I mean I'm not being that Louisville fan, but
no, yeah,
I mean Louisville may actually give you a run for your money and make it a hard game. Not saying we're going to win by any means, but
no, yeah.
they give you the run for your money. Now the way just based on performance of these last 2 weeks, and that's saying a lot about Louisville too because we lost to Boston College, but anything can happen in that
The,
last game.
the 11-1, 10-2 season that they were preaching all summer, an
Yes.
SEC title game, can
Mm-hmm.
quickly turn into a very mediocre 7-5 disappointment.
Yeah. That
Um,
is a huge disappointment because I don't know what you're looking at recruiting wise. I know what Louisville has obviously coming in, but that's only if they don't get bought out by Texas A&M or any other SEC program, or Lincoln Riley goes show some Cali money, or if Scott's gone. But recruit wise, I haven't heard much from Kentucky on the recruiting trail other than you're getting a couple local kids from us. But as you and I both know, Louisville kids don't get a lot of love in the power rankings as they should. We know we have studs in the state of Kentucky and in Louisville, but I mean, UK definitely wins that battle when it comes to winning over kids from the home state, from the Bluegrass state. I just don't know what you all have talent wise coming in. So Stoops finishing 7-5. does not bring too much promise for next year with you losing Levis. So
No, yeah, and then you're gonna have to go out and find another quarterback. If
transfer portal, though, I mean,
yeah, I mean,
that's the saving grace for everybody, man. I told you, it's a saving grace for everybody. So you can either have your stud receiver stay there because you have a great transfer coming in at quarterback, or they can say, you know what, I'm gonna go to Alabama. No, I'm gonna go to Tennessee, and I'm gonna beat Kentucky because I can do that because they're gonna be trash next year. Or they can stay and you get a great transfer in next year. The same thing for Louisville. I mean,
so
gonna happen.
Kentucky at the moment, or no, this was 2022, 2023. Let's see there. Where's these rankings? Louisville's at 9. This is 24/7 Sports. Louisville 15 commits, ranked 19th in the nation at the moment. The Euros class. We have 15 commits, 36th in the country. Let's see here. Four 4 stars, 11 3 stars. We got a 4-star safety out of Alabama. 4-star wide receiver out of Nashville.
That's huge getting him out of Nashville.
Barry and Brown. I think Barry and I don't remember. I know Jordan Anthony, who hasn't produced on the field as much. He got in. He wasn't like the others that were able to get in the spring. He graduated, on time in high school and been there in the fall. But that dude, Jordan Anthony, he's fast. I think he's like a state champion in multiple levels of track and field. The dude is flat out.
That's
fast,
the way to go, man. If you're listening, you're an athlete in high school, run track. I wish I would have did it all 4 years. I did it my senior year and seen great results. Run track. It's definitely worth it. Multi-sport athletes are the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, we got quite a few guys here. Florida, Ohio, Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama. Got local guys out of the state of Kentucky. I mean, they're not, fantastic, but if you look at the way that we are able to develop over time, these guys are going to be, they're going to be good. I can trust their development over time.
That's what I liked about college football. You have 3 years with a player kind of guaranteed unless they transfer it out, but there was more sacrifice when it came to transferring before this day, before 2022 and 23, where players were able to transfer and be able to play immediately. Players didn't leave. They stayed in the program and they, got better and they worked up to being studs like Levis did, or like Malik, or, those homegrown or home, kids that they stayed at school and they kept going. They worked through their problems. They didn't leave out like Spencer Rattler. They stayed and worked for their spot and earned their spot. But now in this day and age, kids will go to school, play 2 games, realize they're not playing much or not getting the play style that they wanted, red shirt and leave. And then, you just wasted a scholarship on this kid and he's gone. I mean, I get it. You want that power in their hands, but I kind of think it's too much power at this point. I mean, I can say that now because, I want kids that come to Louisville like Tyler Harrell and stay there and not go to Bama. But then again, it could work out good for us and getting Tyler Hudson. I mean, I know he's not no Tyler Harrell, but he's a great receiver and we got because of the transfer and eligibility rule. So I don't know, man. It's a lot that can happen, but I'll tell you one team that is taking advantage of it, and that's Bama. Like I just said with Tyler Harrell. So
they can and they will.
Yeah. But I like to go into that because we can transition into our pick 'em. I just seen that right there because I see a lot of green on my side over here, and see a lot of non-green squares on your side.
What?
Oh, wait. I'm looking at week 5. Yeah, week 6. We got a lot of green squares right here. Leading off.
We had the same picks down the board.
Yeah, that's true. I want to make sure I got all my picks right. So, So looking at week 6, man, that first game, if you want to lead that off.
Yeah, we played 5 games last week. We both went 5-0.
Love to hear it.
A&M
Love to see
Bama, decent game. You know, we both took Bama. They won at the end. No, Ohio State, Michigan State. Ohio State pulled that one out.
that was a
Georgia,
massacre.
yeah, Georgia and Auburn took care. Georgia took care
Another
of business.
massacre.
Texas, Oklahoma.
The biggest massacre of the weekend.
Yeah, Texas. That was
Oh,
a beat down.
I don't think there's
Charlotte.
any Red River rivalry right there. That was just, hey, this is practice. Get out of our way.
I just love Brent Venables getting his ass beat.
Yeah, that was. I did not expect that at all, but
I didn't expect that, even as bad as Oklahoma was playing, because those rivalry games are so difficult to predict.
Yep.
Sometimes.
Yep.
And then we had BYU, Notre Dame, and Vegas, and Notre Dame took that one out. So we both went 5-0.
Mormon versus the Catholics.
Yeah.
Battle of faith, and Notre Dame came out on top.
Battle of faith and racist and pedophiles.
Let's just go faith in football. Faith in football.
So we both went 5-0. I update on the season. I'm 25-8. You were 23-10. So I still got a 2-game lead on you. Heading into week 7 here. We have, I believe it's the most ranked top 25 matchups in a single week in the history of the AP poll.
And Jordan, we got the most ranked AP opponents this week. How many do we have total?
I believe there are six on here. Top 25 matchups this week. So Clemson, Florida State. Florida State is not ranked, but Clemson, Florida State is probably still going to be a decent game to watch.
That's always a good game. Yeah.
Yeah. So we will start off with a top 6 matchup with Alabama and Tennessee at Tennessee. College game day is going to be there.
I was about to say that's got to be college game day. I mean, it's got to be prime time, 7:00, right?
Yes. No, I'm thinking SEC picked that one up a while ago. Let me check. I think it's the 3:30 game.
Really? Well, I guess you can't make Alabama always the last game, so.
No, SEC definitely probably picked that one up if I can find it. But anyway, let me find that while we're doing going through. I'm rolling with Rocky Top. I don't know if Bryce Young's going to play, but I just think that Tennessee at home looked really good. Hendon Hooker looks good. Defense looks good. I think Tennessee might pull it out. I hate to say it, and I hate Knoxville, and I hate the color orange, and I hate everything about them, but I think they might take it this weekend. What do you think?
I'm right there with you. It looks like Bryce Young. It's hopeful. Well, Saban is hopeful Bryce Young can play in Tennessee, but that was just a day ago. It doesn't say he's for sure back. So we've seen what kind of offense they have with Jalen Milroe. Is that how you say his name?
Milroe.
Yeah, with him in, and it just obviously you can't replace a Heisman Trophy winner and Davy O'Brien Trophy winner that easily and expect to have the same outcome. Oh, wait, it's Alabama. Yes, you do expect that. So I was kind of like in shock that Jalen or that their backup quarterback wasn't, a top tier player, like ready to go. But you kind of expect that with the transfer portal. Player will go in as soon as they realize Bryce Young's there and he's that guy. They're not going to get playing time. So they left out, I'm sure. But Jalen is still good, dual threat quarterback. I think he can still get things done, but not against this Tennessee team, not in 2022. I think Tennessee is going to get it done, and they're at home. Yeah, I think it's going to be a nice win for the Vols. Close one, but a nice win. Oh, it's on CBS. It's on CBS, 2:30.
Yeah, definitely CBS, 3:30 Eastern time kickoff. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be a good midday game. Definitely going to watch. That one's going to be on my TV.
It's a good bye week for Louisville then. Get to watch all these games.
Yeah. So I'm going to roll, I think, Penn State, Michigan State. That's going to roll right into Alabama, Tennessee, and right into the Kentucky game at nighttime.
Ooh,
Speaking
perfect.
of Penn State and Michigan, top 10 matchup there, I believe.
Hmm.
Um, it's at Michigan, and I'm gonna roll. I don't know. I'm just gonna take a chance, and I'm gonna roll with Penn State this weekend, taking down Michigan.
I feel you. I was kind of right there with you when I was making this pick, just based on their performance against Indiana this week. It didn't look that great in that first half. Obviously, it finished 10 after and going into halftime, it was 10-10. But I think it was a lot of emotions flying high in that game because, as you've seen, and a lot of people seen, their coach had a seizure, is what I believe the report was. He had a seizure.
Mhm.
They had a lot of emotional impact going on in that game, going on in that half, really, that led to probably like them not being fully focused or ready in that half to like go out there and play. They're probably just thinking about Mike Hart. But they pulled together in the second half, skunked them 21-0 in the second half, ended up winning 31-10 against Indiana. But Michigan just always finds a way. They have been since last year. And I think Penn State will not be enough. Going to the big house, let alone, is already a hard, feat. I don't think Penn State will be able to, take care of business there. I think Michigan's going to get the win.
All right, so I'm going Nittany Lions. You've got Michigan. Move
Mhm.
into Clemson, Florida State at Florida State. It's always a decent game, better when Florida State's at their peak. But I'm gonna roll with the Tigers this week. I just think, as good as Florida State has looked this year, that's kind of been unexpected how decent they've been. I just think Clemson's gonna come in and overpower it and take that victory on the road. What do you think?
I'm right there with you. I don't think Jordan Travis is best quarterback.
He's not that guy, pal.
He's not that guy, pal. He's not that guy. And I'm not just saying that because he's one of those transfers out of Louisville, but he's just not that guy. Neither is DJ Urugle. Have you say his name?
Uliagawale?
Yeah, that guy. Neither is he, but he seems to be that guy right now for Clemson. He's getting it done this year. 14 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's getting it done. So I feel like Clemson will win this, pretty dominantly, and this won't even be a close one for Florida State. But we seen bigger upsets happen. Clemson may go back to the Clemson of last year and kind of fold in this game, but we'll see. I got Clemson though.
Both rolling with the Tigers. Next, moving out west, USC and their resurgence under Lincoln Riley
Yeah,
versus Utah, who has repeatedly just been a letdown. Two times they lost twice already this season.
yeah.
I mean, I just think the Trojans are going to be too much. It's going to knock Utah out of the top 25 with this loss.
Mhm.
I mean, they dropped 9 spots this past week in the state or rankings, and I think they'll get knocked all the way out this weekend. What do you think?
I'm right there with you. I think Caleb Williams is a great Heisman Trophy candidate. 14 touchdowns to 1 interception. You can possibly say they don't have the hardest schedule from Rice, Stanford, Fresno State, Oregon State, Arizona, Washington. But they've taken care of business every game, other than the Oregon State game where it was 17-14. But I think this will be their toughest matchup so far of this season, early season. But like you said, I think USC will be able to pull this out. I think it's going to be a tight one because it is at Utah, and Utah's no, easy team to beat. Those two losses were very close losses. And Cameron Rising is his name, I believe. How you say their quarterback name?
Rising.
Right, yeah. 13 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. That guy can play. I watched a few of those games this year, and he looked good. I think if they get this win, it'll make their trajectory of their season go up, and they'll take advantage of the next couple of games they have. But I think USC and Caleb are going to be way too much for them.
Yeah, I mean it's a big time conference matchup because I mean you got USC sitting at 4-0
Mm-hmm.
in the conference. UCLA's 3-0, Oregon 3-0, and then Utah sitting at 2-1. You got to think they lose, that knocks them out of any contention to
Yeah.
play in a Pac-12 title game. at the end of the year. I mean, the ESPN Football Power Index has Utah favored 62% to
Yeah.
38%. I
Oh.
mean, it's going to be a great road game.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
But it's
and
early and not late, man. I know
yeah,
they're in the West Coast, but geez.
yeah, those 11 o'clock kickoffs. I mean, for us, that's a no go on my
Yeah.
end. But I that could definitely be a game I'm flipping back and forward to with the Kentucky game
Mm-hmm.
on pretty much at the same time. And speaking of them, that's our next game to pick. You got number 16 Mississippi State on the road at Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I'm going with my head and what I've seen
Mm-hmm.
and keeping my record intact, so you don't, overtake me.
Yeah.
I've been on a 6 week lead. I'm taking the Bulldogs on the road to knock off Kentucky this weekend. Because even though what good I've seen of Kentucky this year, it hasn't been overpowering. And I mean, we got stomped in this game last year. It's always a bad game for us.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Will Rogers, I think, is just going to end up being too much. So I'm taking the Bulldogs. I'd like to see what you got going for this one.
I don't want to be that guy, but I'm gonna be that guy, and I will pick Kentucky to win this. But this is like one of those picks. If I knew what the health situation was looking like for Will Levis, if I knew he's going to come in completely healthy, no problem picking Kentucky. This one I'm up in the air about it, but I made my pick. And I went with Kentucky just because I think Will Levis will be back in that momentum and having him back, and then coming off that loss to South Carolina, I think Stoops. I mean, he's been there 10 years. He has some bad losses already. I think he should know how to have that coach speak this week and how to speak to his team to get them hyped up for this game. Hey, we're still in it. We can still do big things, guys. I know it's just kind of talking out his butt at this point, but hey, maybe they'll listen to him this week and pull off this win. But we'll see. It depends on health. But I got Kentucky, man. I hate to say it, but I'm saying it.
Okay, well, you got more faith than me, so we'll see what comes out of that one. Um, Obviously, I'm going to be rooting for Kentucky to win. I hope my pick is, wrong, just based off of last week and how Mississippi State played last week and how Kentucky played last week. It's just totally opposite ends of the spectrum.
I mean, it's kind of a win-win for me, regardless. If I get the pick right and Kentucky wins, cool. My record advances and yours goes down. But if Kentucky loses, it's good for me because I don't like them, and I'm okay. I can catch back up in the next 6 weeks. So
yeah. So moving on, next game, Oklahoma State, TCU. Um, I picked against Oklahoma State a couple weeks ago, and that was not good. So that is the exact reason I'm picking them this week is because I'm not going to look like an idiot again.
I'm telling you,
So
Oklahoma State. Sorry. There's at least one Oklahoma team in Oklahoma that gets it right, and that's Oklahoma State. And that's part of on their coach, but also on Spencer Sanders playing great football this year with 12 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's playing great ball, and I think they'll get it done this week as well against TCU. TCU is a hard opponent, and playing them at TCU after they coming off that big win against Kansas, I think Oklahoma State and TCU will have a shootout game, kind of like last week with TCU versus Kansas. I think it's going to be a shootout, and Oklahoma State will come out on top.
yeah, this starts a stretch of games where at the moment, if everything holds true, Oklahoma State has, including this weekend, has 4 straight top 25 ranked matchups.
Wow.
Start with TCU, then Texas, Kansas State, and Kansas. So as long as everything holds true, they could be looking at a gauntlet of 4 straight top 25 games.
It's crazy to
So
believe this conference will not be the same next year. I believe, starting next year with
I think it's
Oklahoma gone and then Texas being gone. Seeing that, like how well this conference is doing this year, it's kind of like, is Texas and Oklahoma making the right decision? Oklahoma, you're definitely not making the right decision.
no, they're going to
Plating
get
wise, because you're going to get dusted in the SEC. But money wise, yeah, you're smart. Texas, you're already making money. Why make the move? But I get it. You want more money. More money. What's wrong with that? What's wrong is your football program may not be top
it
tier.
might not hold up. Yeah, it
Yeah.
won't hold up to um, the SEC as a whole. I mean, it's going to make the SEC better as a whole. Adding those two teams, I don't think Oklahoma will be down for super long. Hopefully, for the stake of everything.
Yeah.
Um, but we'll see there.
I think the SEC will start kind of releasing some teams. I think you'll start seeing that Vandy needs to go. Then you're going to start moving up to Mizzou. Then who do you think's next? And next, not saying Kentucky is, but they're
Yeah,
teetering. They're teetering on that.
Kentucky will never lose its spot because of
Yeah,
basketball.
yeah.
So
Oh, yeah, that's true. Vandy just hasn't been good in either one, and Mizzou. Vandy's only holding their spot because of baseball.
that's not
Basketball, they're
even
kind of, but yeah,
the baseball thing. I mean, Vandy even hasn't even been the same here lately.
yeah. Since what, like the
4 or
year
5
they
years
beat
ago.
us? Yeah, the year they beat us in the college football, college playoffs, college baseball playoffs. I think that was like their last big year.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I know Texas, Oklahoma is not leaving. I think until 2024, twenty
Mm-hmm.
twenty five. So next year you've got this slate of teams, how well they're playing,
Archie
and then
Manning, but he's redshirting. But
but
still,
then you're adding in Cincinnati. You're
mm-hmm.
adding in I think Cincinnati and 3 others in next year into the Big 12. I mean that's going to be that could end up being a even more stacked conference next year. Um,
Yeah.
so
Who is
we'll
going?
see.
Who is it all going in there? I know it's. We'll talk about it another time. I know we're running out of time, but Cincinnati is a huge one to have added to it. I think that's huge. So,
And
uh,
it's huge for Cincinnati to be able to play a schedule of that magnitude every year to have a bunch of those ranked teams because I think that they can keep up with that schedule. And they can take advantage of it. It's BYU, UCF,
so yeah,
Cincinnati, and Houston.
thought it was BYU, but I wasn't for sure. But yeah, okay, BYU, Central Florida. That's huge for those four teams. But
I mean, yeah, Houston has been very good as of late. Cincinnati, we know obviously. BYU's been ranked in the top 25 multiple weeks this year.
mm-hmm.
UCF, when healthy, isn't horrible. So I mean, Big
Big
12,
12 is still good.
Big 12 still good for at least another couple years. So last game, going to ACC game, NC State versus Syracuse.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, your Syracuse loss doesn't look bad.
It does not look bad at all. That's a beautiful. Seeing that L next to Syracuse is a beautiful one because it's like, oh, you lost to Syracuse, that's fine. But if you watch the game, like, yo, like crap, that's not a beautiful L. But I'll take the loss to Syracuse at this point because they are sitting at what 5-0,
Yeah.
top 25 team, and I'll go.
What your loss to Syracuse is the same as what you were kind of getting at earlier with our loss to Ole Miss
Mm-hmm.
can look like. It's not looking like a bad loss,
Yeah,
because they start running the table, and especially if Syracuse wins this week, it really doesn't look like a bad loss. I'm going with Syracuse. I think they're going to roll with it and pull it out. They're at home. NC State's had a tough couple weeks.
mm-hmm.
So I mean, it. I'm going with Syracuse. Going with the orange. What do you think?
Going against my better judgment, I'm gonna go Syracuse just because they're at home and they got that momentum going for them. They're coming off a good offensive performance, but looking at their schedule, every time they play a decent opponent, besides Louisville at this point right now, first game, I'll give it to them. They only beat Virginia by 2 points. They only beat Purdue by 3. They beat UConn 48-14, and they beat Wagner 59-0.
That sounds like a normal high school score for us.
Yeah, yeah, about that's about right for us. But going against NC State, I think there will be some momentum there for Syracuse. I think they have that chip on their shoulder, something to prove. Pretty sure everybody's told them the same thing I just kind of referenced there. You haven't beat many people quality competition that well. I think that defense is gonna, show something this week against NC State. And NC State got clobbered against Clemson, so yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, there's week 7 picks. We picked the same except for Penn State, Michigan, and Mississippi State, Kentucky. So those will be the ones to look out for on if one of us gains a game or not. Um, so coming off 5 undefeated weeks last week, we'll see what goes on this week in week 7. Regardless, don't think anything else in college football has gone on. Really, a big thing is a bunch of quarterback injuries across the country. Hopefully,
Yeah.
Levis is back. Bryce Young is back. There's quite a few more last week that
Yeah.
missing that top talent at the most important position, basically. So hopefully, all those guys get back for a lot of these really good games this week.
That's
Um,
a lot of quarterbacks now that I'm seeing it. Devin Leary was out for NC State. Jefferson was out for Arkansas, and then now you
mhm.
see Daniels is out for the rest of the year for Kansas. But as we see in their backup is really good. So
Yeah, so um, that I think about wraps it up for week 6 recap, week 7 preview of NCAA from T&J Sports. Like always, thank you for listening. Like and share. We really appreciate it. If anyone wants to hop on, let us know. We'll get you on, and we'll roll with it. You could be a part of the team.
yeah,
So
love to have you.
uh, yeah, love to have you in. Drizzy signing out.
Tstalls signing out. Have a good one.
Yep, have a good one, everybody. We'll see you next week.